please.
First, you have to give up. First, you have to know, not fear, know that someday you're gonna die.
You don't know how this feels.
It's only after we've lost everything that we're free to do anything.
The narrator of Fight Club, let's call him Jack, is looking for a way out. He needs an escape from his detached and mechanical routine. All emotional excitement has been lost, with thoughts about the kind of dining set which defines him as a person being a primary concern. When he is denied a prescription to ease the pain of his insomnia, he begins attending self-help groups to see what real pain looks like. Group attendance provides significantly more meaning than his consumer lifestyle, but it also allows Jack to feel better about his own life by comparing himself to others. The suffering attendees are in much more dire circumstances than he, causing him to sleep like a baby as he becomes more at ease about his personal despair. It's a sadistic form of pleasure he is receiving, benefiting from the hurt of others by seeing himself as better, and it comes easy to feel superior, as many of the members have lost all purpose and meaning in life. Individuals who are mostly unable to cope with the blows delivered by fate and are looking for assistance in any way possible. At one point, one of the group leaders mentions how the members give each other strength. Being lost, they are looking for answers and desperate to grab onto anything that floats. They latch onto each other as a way to not drown in their sea of pain.
I found freedom. Losing all hope was freedom.
And although he is not yet completely free, Jack is slowly becoming his own group leader by believing in spiritually laden platitudes that are so prevalent in self-help communities. These statements ask attendees to rid themselves of everything so as to open up to new possibilities. This could also be translated as being vulnerable to any influence and becoming liable to outer coercion. Members are asked to destroy their own ways, offering the chance for some new purpose to make its presence known, no matter how deranged that purpose might be. Eventually, we are introduced to Tyler, a manifestation of Jack's mind, a perfect replacement identity for someone lacking any meaning. Tyler serves Jack by being everything he is not. He is self-directed, interesting, and unconcerned about opinions. It's the only way Jack can allow himself to blow up his boring pedestrian life, as he would be otherwise too anxious to act independently. At the same time, Tyler serves the function of creating a new existence of nihilism and destruction, leaving Jack void of all responsibility and guilt for the events that are about to take place. During the plane ride, Tyler begins introducing ideas about death and dying, about the illusions of safety we shield our eyes to daily. This new identity is making Jack realize that it can all be wiped away at any moment. Good reasons to throw away the old and start a new path of freedom. The path that Tyler introduces is exciting and fresh. It's one of subverting social norms and ridding society of comfortability. Randomness and the unexpected are king. Since Jack has long been caught in a life of predictability and routine, this is exactly what is needed to hook him into the eventual mission of the club. He is feeling the rush of no rules and nothing tying him down. The structure and accountability of the past are being usurped by drinking and fighting whenever he wants. Fight Club is soon established, and it becomes apparent that other men were looking for the same thing as Jack.
We were finding out more and more that we were not alone.
There is a need for a release from reality, something which can provide more than the rat race of chasing money and cars. They are able to pound each other into the pavement and forget about their personal lack of direction. We see the parallels to the self-help groups introduced earlier in the film, in that Fight Club is also a place in which individuals come to find strength. But the strength is attained by surrounding oneself with those who are weaker or in worse positions than themselves. Each night, someone is a winner and someone is a loser. A never-ending supply of opportunities for members to feel superior to another, gaining strength from the other's weakness. Growth and development are a non-factor, while needing to best another is always at the forefront. As the club increases in popularity, this growth is matched by Jack's deeper sense of a connection with new meaning. He refers to himself as being enlightened and as a Zen master, as his perceptions shift and he moves further towards renunciation. But while he thinks he is having a true spiritual realization, it is in fact just an inflation of his ego. Because as members increase and support of his outlandish ideas grows, it is matched by an increase in Jack's feelings of power and otherworldliness. Another adverse effect of his pseudo-liberation is that it is not contributing to any sense of community building or cohesion, and instead is helping to remove others from the reality of the world. Each man is being asked to leech off society and abuse the system, the opposite of anything constructive or helpful to the greater good. They begin contributing the entirety of their time and energy to a cause which pushes Jack to the top of the hierarchy. Members are not being assisted in how to function better as individual units. They are being asked to follow the leader's messages without thinking for themselves. Throughout the film, Tyler is pushing Jack to the brink of annihilation. This figment of his imagination is making him do things that the real Jack would never do by himself. He is being compared to a pebble of sand in a giant cosmos, an insignificant nothing, and his extreme thinking and behavior is what causes the followers like Bob to idolize him. He is portraying an untenable and unsustainable lifestyle to followers, making them wish to be like their leader. They no longer worship the Calvin Klein models, and instead have transferred the worship to Jack and Tyler. He is seen as a type of God who can deliver them to the promised land, but the man who is behind it all possesses a completely disordered and deranged mind. Tyler stands in front of the firmly established Fight Club and speaks about their spiritual war, proposing that there is no hope in their past lives and that the only chance that they have is to accept this new way. It's imperative for Jack that they believe and follow him, as it validates any notion he proposes, so he chooses to have himself beaten by the bar owner as a way to display utmost loyalty to the cause. He shows that he's willing to do anything for this unknown ultimate goal. Members are soon instructed to go into the streets and find strangers to fight with, entangling more helpless victims into their disordered games. Feelings of excitement and danger, coupled with the promise of a new future, continually bring in fresh meat, increasing Jack's power and prestige all the while. Over the course of the film, it has become apparent that Jack has an addictive personality and that his former obsession with material possessions has been transferred to fighting and drinking. He is compulsively engaging in destructive acts, needing to convince himself of their utility by repeatedly engaging in them. New heights of absurdity are constantly being discovered, serving the purpose of leaving behind his past life while moving towards the proposed way of freedom and nothingness. Project Mayhem is created as the next step towards power, and Jack says,
Sooner or later, we all became what Tyler wanted us to be.
I'm gonna go inside and I'm gonna get a
each cog in this machine has become a good little monkey who will follow directions and replicate the wishes of their leader with blind faith. They have all come from jobs in society in which they were looking to escape the need to answer to a boss, instead wanting to be their own authority. But ironically, they have all entered into a more demanding and more time-consuming occupation with Project Mayhem, one in which all chance at autonomy is squashed, and where they are instead under the shadow of authoritarian rule. It's all working in Jack's favor, while as the members adhere to his rules and keep the operation flowing, they in turn prop up the ego of the leader and replenish his need for superiority and dominance. Project Mayhem is an army, meaning a group of minions who will listen to any command and act it out on demand. They are the perfect objects for this plan, as each man is void of individual meaning in their life and needing to latch on to any scheme that could pump up their feelings of excitement and hope. It started just as all fascist regimes begin, in which people who have no grounding in themselves are taken advantage of in service of group motives.
Why was Tyler Durden building an army? To what purpose? For what greater good? In Tyler we trusted.
No one knew where any of this was going, but they continued to follow the message blindly, as they had lost all ability to think for themselves. And although Fight Club rested on the principle of not talking about the club, Project Mayhem's basic axiom is that you do not ask questions. It's apparent that there is no exit from the ride at this point, as the possibility of refuting a task is never possible. And despite the fact that Jack breaks one of his own rules by beating a man after he has gone limp, no one is afforded a chance to question the methods. The leader has devised a way so that he will remain unprotested, being able to command the minds of all his underlings. It is all furthered by asking each member to give up their personal will by letting go and stop trying to control. Jack has devised new and ingenious ways to assert dominance, since the idea of giving up, hid under the guise of spiritual enlightenment, is in actuality making it easier for the ruler to direct and control the will of each man who has given up his own path. Upon Bob's death, the groupthink has become more pronounced than ever, as men across the country chant the phrase, "His name was Robert Paulson," in remembrance of Bob. Most, if not all, are disconnected from the actual event and man, each repeating the words which were based off a faulty interpretation of Jack's disgust. All individual choice, thought, and feeling has been destroyed, as members say and do things because they have been told it is important, as opposed to understanding why it is important for themselves. While in the hotel room, Jack soon comes to realize the reality of Tyler's presence, and we may discover more reasons that this personality was constructed. Besides providing a way to delete his old life and create a new one, Tyler also gave Jack a way to create a cult mob who would follow his every move. It all tracks that a formerly desperate man with no power, no relations, and no meaning in life will look for a way to have others pay attention to him, a way to have people need and rely on him. Tyler established a time-tested tradition of spiritual coercion in order to help support Jack's weak ego. He asked followers to rid themselves of worldly pleasures, to distance from materialism and consumerism, climaxing in the attempt to destroy all financial institutions and create economic equilibrium. He understood that he must leave everyone with nothing to stand on, without ground or footing, and that the end result would lead to their undying support for him, something which gives Jack the meaning, power, and relations he never had. At the end of the film, Jack decides to stop listening to Tyler and instead listens to himself. Tyler had helped Jack to feel better about himself by forming a fanatical group around him that would never question his motives. He ends up realizing his mistakes, but his changes come too late, and he watches the wreckage from the blown buildings, something which will eventually lead to many more destroyed lives. His psychotic need to validate himself came at the expense of the overall good. He created a massive groupthink in which individuals were robbed of their own willpower and instead supported the ideal of a single sick man. This has been The Psychology of Fight Club. Please watch my other videos on other TV and film characters if you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching.